Hello and welcome to Ellison Legals in case you missed it. We are now in March, so we will be going over February's posts. Just the quick housekeeping. Ellison Legal has limited liability under a scheme approved by the Professional Standards legislation, and this video is not intended to give you legal advice. So if you do need legal advice, please go speak with your legal practitioner so you can get advice that is tailored to your specific situation. So I have in front of me now the posts that we put out in February, and we had 4 posts and they were all about superannuation. So the first post was about the superannuation as an asset. It is not an estate asset, so a non-estate asset. So what that means is that you have superannuation, money's been put away for you during your working time, and then you can access it during your retirement. That's the general basic gist of it. As we all know. But when funds are put away for you, they're put away on your behalf. So someone else is holding this legal title to it, effectively. That person is the superannuation trustee. So you do not actually own your superannuation, you are a beneficiary of those funds and any other benefits that come with your super. So because your name is not on it, you are a beneficiary, you are not the owner. So it does not form part of your estate automatically. It can later on if you deem it that way, but that's details for another time. But because it's held by somebody else, the trustee, it does not form part of your estate. If it doesn't form part of your estate, it does not fall in your will automatically. So when you are preparing a will or having someone prepare a will for you, you also need to consider what assets you are entitled to and what does not form part of your will, and how can you take care of those assets and say what you want to happen to those assets, because your will won't be able to say that unless you bring it into the will. And again, that's another topic altogether. So it's not an estate asset. The second post was about retail industrial super funds versus SMSFs, which are self-managed superannuation funds. With retail and industrial funds, types like that, because there are many different ones, they fall under certain legislation with specific rules. But when it comes to SMSFs, there are certain rules that do not apply to SMSFs. So, and that's that's the next post that I go into and give you an example of that. So, SMSFs are becoming increasingly common. So it is important to know what it is that you can do and what it is that you cannot do. The third post was BDBNs, which is binding death benefit nominations. So when you have superannuation, you'll more often than not be asked to fill out a form nominating who you want to receive your funds upon your passing. It can be binding or non-binding, or if you have no nomination at all. Death benefit, so it's the benefit the person you nominate to receive upon your death. So that's why it's called a death benefit binding nomination or a non-binding nomination. But let's talk about the binding nominations. Now, with those nominations, that is an example of when I was mentioning in the first post about being not an estate asset. When you make a nomination, you are saying to the trustee, this is the person who I want to receive the benefits from my superannuation fund. Normally, with what I referred to in the second post, retail, industrial, those types of superannuation funds, those nominations will lapse every 3 years. So you need to keep those updated, keep renewing those nominations. If you have lost capacity to renew those nominations, again, that's another topic altogether, something you might be able to address in your power of attorney document. But with SMSFs, they don't automatically lapse every 3 years. So that's something that when you are doing your estate planning with your solicitor, that your solicitor should be looking at. What does the trust deed of your SMSF say? Does it lapse every 3 years? It might say that. Does the standard rules apply and it doesn't lapse? Is there something else that they need to consider? So that's an example of how SMSFs can differ from your standard superannuation. So lapsing every 3 years, it's a good prompt to say, yes, this is what I still want, or I need to change it, or circumstances have changed, or children who were once dependents are no longer dependent on me, they're now independent. So the tax consequences, depending on standard tax law or what applies to superannuation, might be different. There's so many considerations to think about, but that 3-year prompt for your superannuation is a good prompt to renew even your will. The last post was about life insurance. Now, what I put in the post, and that was the last post in February, was some people have life insurance as part of their superannuation. Some people don't. It's always a good idea to check, do you? Some people have it and don't even know. It's a good idea to check it. Put it in your estate planning documentation. The notes that you're putting away, these are the accounts I have, just so that if something happens to you, people know what your account numbers are, where assets are held, things like that. As part of that document, your list of assets and liabilities, write down if you do have life insurance. I mean, that's you would want your dependents to claim that in the event of your passing. So, and what else I wrote there is if you have decided to purchase a separate life insurance policy, and some people do because you might be able to get extra benefits in a separate life insurance policy that your standard superannuation may not be able to provide. So you might have 2 separate ones, but just consider as well having 2 different policies, having a life insurance policy, and you might have life insurance that you didn't know about as part of your super. You might be paying double administration fees. So it is a pretty good idea. Just get all your documents together, get as much information as you can. What do you have? What are your rights under there? What can you claim? Things like that. Look at all that. Take it to an estate planner to sort of figure out what is the best situation for you at that point in time, because anything can happen. Everything changes for everyone at any moment. So it's always good to review all your types of documents. So superannuation does form part of your estate planning, does not form part of your will. So that was superannuation for February. And we will see you in April going over March's posts. Thanks for watching. Bye.